Now let's go back to the development of the 45 caliber weapon and why it happened. 1902, Theodore Roosevelt, country inhabited by the Moro tribes, the Philippines. The Moros were named by the Spanish. Who were they? They were 35,000 fanatical Islamic warriors. They were really Muslim terrorists. They fought in the way of Allah. They declared a jihad or holy war against American infidels. They had no fear of dying. One of the things they feared was that their families would survive them. So they often charged into certain death, holding their children in front of them as human shields. With almost unstoppable assaults such as this, and their use of booby trap warfare, as deadly as those in Vietnam, and suicidal attacks reminiscent of the Middle East today, the Muslim Moros kept more than one-fifth of the entire U.S. Army fully occupied for 10 years. Who were they? Well, they shaved their hair and eyebrows. They bound their arteries and genitals in leather to slow the flow of blood and deaden the sensation of pain. They were drugged out of their minds on God knows what compounds from the jungles, and they were armed with spears, hatchets, daggers, and swords, plus a few old Arab matchlocks, ancient flintlocks dating back to the American Revolution, and therefore the Moros made superhuman efforts to fulfill their oath to kill and eat Christians in order to assure their places in paradise. It's still going on. So what happened? Well, in one instance, a Moro warrior was shot 14 times in 5 minutes, 3 of which penetrated his brain, and yet he fought on. As a seasoned Army officer said, even the veteran Indian fighters among the Army regulars had to learn that a Moro is more dangerous than a renegade Apache and twice as hard to kill. What happened? What happened was the American military developed the Colt semi-automatic 1911 pistol, and it was stated that this Moro had 32 crack balls through him and was only stopped by the 33rd bullet, which was a Colt 45 slug through both ears. 1913, peace somewhat prevailed, but the Moros were never permanently subdued. In fact, in 1972, they rebelled again when martial law was declared in the Philippines, and the government ordered civilians to surrender their guns. The right to keep and bear arms is holy to the Moros, and they never did so. That's a little bit of the history about the 1902 to 1913 war with the Muslim Moro fanatics. And by the way, the Army was using 38 long Colts and 38 specials, the 38 Parabellum. They were inadequate to stop these maniacs, and so they had to develop the 45 to put them down like the mad, insane nuts that they are. That's the history of weapons. That's the history of the Colt 1911. That's the history that you're not going to get anywhere else. And shame on you, Nadler, Schumer, Reed, Durbin. You're spitting on history. Shame on all of you.